Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Porter. I'm going to be the Master of Ceremony for you this evening. It is my privilege to welcome you on behalf of the Beta Kappa chapter of Beta Theta Pi. And tonight we are here to honor the sacrifices and benefit the brave soldiers in the Wounded Warrior Project. The Wounded Warrior Project is an amazing organization that helps injured service men and women who were injured in the defense of our country. We have already helped, with the help of our alumni, raise $19,000 for this worthy cause. Underneath your dessert plate, you will find an envelope. Just so you know, any donations that you make tonight will go directly to the Wounded Warrior Project, since all the costs of the dinner have already been covered by the generous donations from our alumni. Will you join me now in standing for the presentation of colors and the playing of the national anthem to honor all the service men and women who have given so much for our freedom? Now, before dinner, I'd like to introduce my... Oh, please be seated. Now, before dinner, I'd like to introduce my friend, Laura Schouts. She's a member of the Christian Business Leader Exec Board and will be leading tonight's invocation. Let's give a round of applause for Laura.
And let us pray. Heavenly Father, we are gathered here tonight in honor honor of the devoted and courageous who have offered their military service for this country. We lift up all those who have fought for our freedom, but specifically those who have encountered physical and mental hardships as a result of their duty. Thank you for those willing to enter into danger, endure separation from loved ones, and sacrifice their lives on our behalf. God, we thank you for these individuals, and we ask that you bless them. Help them and their families feel your presence, your love, and your comfort, even in the deepest moments of pain. Also, please watch over the soldiers still fighting overseas. Tonight, Father, we pray for grateful and generous hearts to properly appreciate the sacrifice these wounded warriors have made. Reveal to us the ways in which you want us to serve those who have served us so graciously. I also want to thank you for Beta Theta Pi and all who made this event possible. We are so grateful for the time to gather together with friends. Bless the meal we are about to receive, and bless the hands who have prepared it. In your Son's precious and holy name, amen.
Beta Kappa at Ohio University was born in 1841, 173 years ago. Beta Kappa is just 37 years younger than Ohio University. We are a part of the soul and fabric of this great institution. And while our predecessors stumbled a few years ago, Beta Theta Pi is back today, revitalized, rejuvenated, and renewed to assume our rightful place at this historic school. Now we are asking you to stand with us in support of the Wounded Warrior Project. You are all from different groups. You are veterans, ROTC cadets, university officials, members of Greek life, students, athletes, and community members. Each group is strong, but together we are unbeatable. From our perspective, Joe Sutton is two people. He is a great Bobcat and he is a great Beta. As an Ohio football player, I am sure he would be more than willing to suit up for Coach Solich this year and drive the Bobcats to glory. Coach, do you have a spot for Joe? Joe served his country in the U.S. Army for 23 years, attaining the rank of colonel. He is the founder and owner of Sutton Ventures Group, and he has always been a proud supporter of veterans, Ohio University, and the local community. He exemplifies the values that all of us as undergraduate Betas aspire to. Will you please join me in the warm welcoming of a great Bobcat, a great Beta, and a great American, Mr. Joseph Sutton.
Thank you all for actually standing up and clapping, but I'm not worthy of that. I'm humbled. I want to thank you all very much for coming tonight. We appreciate your support for this noble cause. I have to start off by telling you I didn't know much about Wounded Warrior when I was asked to speak tonight. I never really supported Wounded Warrior before. I went online, did some research, and checked into a few things, and it's quite an impressive organization. One you can feel very proud that you are supporting. What I'm most proud of tonight is I'm most proud of the Beta Kappa chapter of Beta Theta Pi and the young men that make up that chapter. My wife and I are both OU graduates. We graduated in 1969, where most of you were alive. And I'm a member of Beta Theta Pi fraternity. And I want to assure you that when we graduated in 1969, the fraternity did not focus at all on charitable efforts. Our major focus was drinking beer and chasing women. And I want to doubly assure you that we could not get a gathering together of university students, faculty, and supporters in 1969 to pay tribute to anybody in uniform. In those days, most people were protesting men and women in uniform in the streets, at Court Union, and other places. So I want to thank Dan Bates, Dinger Bates, who helped organize and put this together, the men of Beta Kappa, Beta Theta Pi, for showing us The things about our young people today really are getting better, not getting worse. I'd like you to give a hand, please, to the young people that put this on. Shane Parsons grew up in Fostoria, Ohio. His father died when Shane was 6 months old. He was raised by his mother, Cindy. Shane loved sports, and he wrestled and played football for Fostoria High School. In fact, his claim to fame was that as a defensive end, his junior year, he actually sacked Ben Roethlisberger. Cindy was a sole parent and his mother, and she was training at the time to become a nurse, her lifelong ambition. Upon graduation from high school, Shane joined the Army. He was inspired by the 9/11 attacks and wanted to serve his country. He joined the U.S. Army and went to infantry training at Fort Benning, Georgia. After Fort Benning, Shane was assigned to Fort Hood, Texas, and was part of the 503rd Airborne at Fort Hood, where he learned how to be a sniper and a reconnaissance scout. In 2005, Shane was deployed to Iraq. On September 30th, 2006, then Corporal Shane Parsons volunteered to do a reconnaissance and a convoy in Ramadi, Iraq. He had 1 month to go before he rotated back to the United States. And he volunteered for the mission. During that convoy, anti-coalitional forces attacked Shane's convoy. An EFP, which is an explosively formed penetrator, was detonated into his Humvee. The Humvee was destroyed, and Corporal Shane Parsons from Fostoria, Ohio, lay dead near the Humvee. In 1973, the United States Army ended the draft. The United States of America ended the draft. The draft as we knew it. When we were young, those of you who are friends of mine here and brothers of mine around my age, we spent the large part of our time either being drafted and serving, looking forward to joining ROTC to go as an officer, or trying to avoid the draft. And so it came home. It was in the middle of our living rooms, it was next to our neighbors, our relations, our friends, our every day. But in '73, the United States of America ended the draft. The military became a volunteer force. Since that date, all of our battles and wars have been fought by volunteers, professional soldiers. Throughout the past several years, we fought a different kind of war, one against terrorist civilian forces. The weapons have, for the most part, not been conventional, but have been man-made. These improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, have had a devastating effect on our forces. At the end of last year, the Huffington Post reported that the number of American battle wounded had passed the 50,000 mark in Afghanistan and Iraq. Throughout more than a decade of war. Yes, war. Since 1901, when the war was launched against terrorism in Iraq and then Afghanistan, 5,225 American military personnel have been killed in action, either Afghanistan or Iraq. Overall, 253,330 servicemen and women have suffered traumatic brain injury on the battlefield or elsewhere, including 3,949 with penetrating head wounds, and 44,610 with severe or moderate brain injury. In the Army alone, 73,674 soldiers have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome as a result of their combat experience. The Army also has diagnosed 30,480 soldiers who returned from combat with traumatic brain injury, often caused by one or more severe blows to the head or exposure to a concussive blast. Among those combat wounded from the military services, over 1,500 patients have suffered major limb amputations, including 486 wounded troops with multiple amputations. And these numbers don't include people who lost a finger or a toe. Talking about major appendages. Most of the amputees, 83%, have lost one or both legs, mostly from IED blasts. These deadly homemade bombs have also the cause of most of the genital wounds suffered from 1,410 U.S. troops. Although U.S. military operations in Iraq ended in December of 2011, some 66,000 U.S. troops still remain between there and Afghanistan. 66,000 troops. These casualty statistics I've talked about only begin to suggest the suffering of the injured and the families of those killed or injured, because so many of these wounded are in their early 20s. They and their families face a lifetime during which the medical care required will be costly, intense, and constant. How do we show the support for our troops fighting on our behalf? It seems we've successfully gotten out of our lives. It no longer impacts most of us. Therefore, it no longer concerns most of us. Do you read about it in the daily papers? When's the last time you saw an article on a battle in Iraq and Afghanistan? Oh, there you go. Do you hear about it in the news? You hear every time a rock star has an overdose, the nation knows in the morning. You hear about servicemen and women who lose their arms and legs or die in defense of their country. Do we even acknowledge there's a war going on? It used to be that Americans were involved in our wars because it impacted us, our relatives, our friends, and our neighbors. It doesn't anymore. In many cases. In some cases it may. Oh, we'll stand up and clap at sporting events and recognize the military. We all read and send emails which are our participation and how strong patriots we are. We're talking about this, that, or the other thing. Pretty easy to do that. But how many of our lives are impacted by our country being at war? In most cases, our lives are in no way impacted. We've successfully outsourced the active defense of our nation. We've outsourced the active defense of our nation. So how do we show our patriotism? I don't have the answer. I guess one way is that we as citizens can do our best to ensure that these brave men and women, while they put their lives at risk and do our bidding, are properly appreciated. That's probably the least we can do. I think the country's turning its eye toward doing more of that. Wounded Warrior provides one means, not the only means, but one means by which we can fulfill that obligation. So I ask you in short, not to take for granted what our military service does for us. Don't let it just be outsourced. Find ways, anyway, but find ways to express your patriotism. Whether it's through supporting causes that recognize those who are doing your bidding for you, whether it's joining the military, whatever it might be. But we as Americans have an obligation as patriots to fulfill our obligation. Shane Parsons lied dead on that road in Ramadi. In Ramadi, Iraq, where he died on September 30th, 2006. All at once he remembers someone pounding on his chest, trying to revive him. Then he was immediately airevac'd and died again. In the air, was revived in Baghdad Combat Support Hospital. Shane survived. Shane survived that day, but lost both legs. He also suffered severe anoxic brain injury due to loss of oxygen to his brain. Shane found himself on the way to Germany for treatment and eventually to Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. And then off to Minneapolis for a year of further treatment. Cindy, his mother, gave up her dream job as a nurse, left her home in Fostoria, Ohio, to be at her son's side through all his medical surgeries, which occurred over the next 3 years. While at her son's bedside, the Parsons unoccupied home in Fostoria had a major water leak, and black mold destroyed the home. They were able to salvage some furniture, including Shane's father's bedroom suite. But the city of Fostoria condemned the home. It was torn down to slab. Patriots, showing their concern, called the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, stepped up when they heard about Shane's story, his mother's story actually. And they obtained funding to rebuild the home. An additional organization, Hope for Warriors, another organization, came forward and completed the house with ramps, garage, hold-down shower, bath, even an exercise room decorated in Buckeye, unfortunately Buckeye here. That only Ohio State fan, any Ohio State fan can be proud of. But these organizations in the community of Fostoria welcomed the hero home and his mother. Shane's biggest problem wasn't the loss of his legs, it was his brain injury. He was unable to remember, read, or write, and his communication skills were not good. At one stage, after years of treatment, the Veterans Administration and the military stopped treatment, saying he had progressed as far as he could and his benefits had run out. He was depressed and contemplating suicide when Wounded Warrior approached him. They continued treatment and helped Shane find a job. Fast forward. Shane Parsons is now a varsity football coach at his hometown high school in Fostoria, coaches the offensive and defensive linemen. He found a sled hockey team, for which he plays in Columbus, Ohio, and is a downhill skier. Cindy's become a licensed registered nurse, and they are strong advocates, as you might expect, for Wounded Warrior. Why? Because of patriots. Because people care. They didn't allow their patriotism to be outsourced. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and give to Shane Parsons. Shane and his mother Cindy have agreed to come today from Astoria. I wanted them to take a few minutes to tell you how Wounded Warriors helped them. But I thought it'd be much more impactful tonight to find a real Wounded Warrior, so we can then stand up and bring one here. So please take your time to know Shane, and you be seated. Please, Shane, why don't you and your mother take a few minutes and see if I can find something.
Duty, honor, integrity, commitment. And one added that my son tells me I need to bring up, respect. All vows of those who serve our country, and I see many out in the audience, but you know, sometimes they make the ultimate sacrifice. As many of our warriors return from active duty around the world, they find challenges and readjustment returning back home. And unlike the catastrophic injuries, physical wounds, multiple invisible wounds, two major concerns: post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. 7 years ago, our storm began. As Mr. Sutton told you, I received a phone call. That phone call brought me to my knees. And I knew that I had to have a mission and begin that mission because my son took that step forward to serve his country, to honor and empower for our freedom. As I walked into his room in Landstuhl, Germany, I had to hold in all emotions that I could and be strong for my son. He sustained a severe anoxic traumatic brain injury, above-knee bilateral amputations, which succumbed to a blood clot to his lung, and later 15 surgeries to his limbs at Walter Reed Army Medical Center back in the States, here in the States, I should say. He continued to fight for his life. And I remember one day when Wounded Warrior Project walked into his room, and they walked right up to him, which he wasn't even awake yet, and they said, "Shane, we are here for your mother and you. And if there's anything we can do for you, we are here for you. Just let us know." And little did we know the significance that day, because they came into our lives and literally changed and saved my son's life, as well as mine. As time went on, he lost the ability to read and write. He has memory losses, cognitive deficits. He'll never learn the same. For you see, with the amputations from the IED that exploded, he had multiple cardiac arrests, losing blood to his brain, and prefrontal cortex and temporal lobe parts of his brain died. But Shane overcome. He has overcome barriers, challenges, and I couldn't be more proud. He still struggles today, ladies and gentlemen. After the VA stopped his reading speech therapy, Wounded Warrior Project stepped in. They have hired an adult disability literacy tutor who helps him. Now he's at second grade level reading. They hired a community support worker, and that's how he became a football coach, working with Shane every day, 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Ultimately, we are proud to stand here today and talk about a $30 million commitment of a program. There's nothing like it out there, called the Long-Term Support Trust. He still suffers from night terrors. He still suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, memory losses. He needs safety care so that others don't take advantage of him. This Long-Term Support Trust, $30 million is allocated beginning this year for 250 or more severely wounded and their caregivers, so that if something happens to me, he will be taken care of. The team will come in so that he's not institutionalized, to make sure that they maximize quality of life. Quality of life. RAND study estimates there's over 320,000 of our warriors returning with traumatic brain injuries, some undiagnosed to this day. Over 400,000 with post-traumatic stress disorder, those invisible wounds of war. Wounded Warrior Project called me to lobby on Capitol Hill on behalf of caregivers across the United States who severely wounded. And I'm proud to stand here and say, after lobbying on the Hill, the Caregivers Omnibus Health Service Act of 2010 has passed. As a caregiver, we get monthly stipends, training, and more importantly, health insurance. It has literally changed our lives. Programs and services to honor and empower wounded warriors with a vision to foster the most well-adjusted, successful service members in the history of any war. Shane can attest to those stories and what he's experienced because they don't want a handout. What they want is what they've lost. He wants his independence. And more importantly, with the programs and services, the best way to overcome that is when they help each other. And as you see on our logo, Shane was the warrior carried on top, and today he is now the warrior carrying others on top. The war isn't over. We are going to have thousands of warriors coming back from Afghanistan. I ask you, will you step forward and make that difference? You have the potential. Each one of you in this room have the potential. I would like Shane to talk a little bit about how it has impacted him. Before I give the mic over to him, I want you to understand, as a warrior speak, they hired me to do part-time public speaking. This is my therapy. I can't tell you how important it is for a caregiver. This is my therapy. Nothing else works. But for Shane, it has changed his entire life. Let's see if I can get this. Can you talk a little bit how Wounded Warrior Project has impacted you? Sergeant Shane Parsons, ladies and gentlemen.
Wounded Warrior Project gave me another chance to succeed and do good in my life. You know, some of you know, you make that ultra sacrifice. You know what you sign up for. You know, there's no hidden nothing. You know, you sign up. As me as an infantryman, I knew what I signed up for. I was ready to make that sacrifice. Whatever it took to make sure nobody comes to our land and spits in our face again. Wounded Warrior Project gave me that opportunity to succeed. It gives me an opportunity to be better, to be more, to be everything that I wanted to do. To me, becoming a coach, football coach, help other kids going through certain situations. I'm from a small town. 2 state championships, about 30, 40 state runner-ups. You know, it's a small town. Kids struggle. I see what they go through sometimes. But I'm there in my chair, on the field, showing them that not only as a person, as a wounded soldier, as a veteran that has a disability, can overcome those abilities, those strengths and weaknesses, can stand up and have that other voice for other people that can't have it. Do it all over again. If you flash, would you do it again? If you knew the same thing would happen to you? Hell yeah. I love my job. I miss it.
Robertson Davies states it clearly, and I quote, "Extraordinary people, under the most terrible circumstances, become extraordinary because of it." Shane is definitely an extraordinary person. I appreciate your time, and even all of the people in this room. My heart it implodes. I appreciate, but remember, you can make a difference. Go into your community, find those wounded warriors, tell them about us, tell them Shane's story. And if you'd like to see more about it, I implore every one of you to go to imeanit.org, because we mean it, that this is for a lifetime, not a day, not a week, not tomorrow, for a lifetime of our severely wounded warriors. And check the pledge so that we can take all of those names to the Capitol Hill to fight for the long term. Thank you very much, and may God bless those who serve our country today, in the past, and in the future. And God bless America. Thank you.
The members of the party didn't know I was going to bring Shane with me tonight, so I hope you don't mind that. And I want to thank all of you for listening to me yak on for a few minutes, and I encourage you to support this wonderful cause. I encourage you as a campus to continue to support causes like this. This is just a phenomenal evening, in my opinion, because we've got young people in the university taking some responsibility. So thank you very much.